It would take 7 mountain passes and 3 bridges, only 12 minutes. That was the margin between survival and annihilation for a small valley city surrounded by enemy kingdoms more than twice its size. If an invasion came, the city's army would lose in open battle. But there was no alternative plan for dealing with invaders, and the city's leaders were desperate for a better strategy. Jurim, the smallest kingdom's capital, was surrounded by enemies. And the only person who would ultimately come up with a strategy that could save the kingdom of Rin, that the city belonged to, had no formal higher education or official standing at all. Sana-ju knew nothing of strategy, but no one knew the surrounding area of her home city like her. From childhood, Sana was a top-tier mountain climber, but Jurim's workforce had no place for her. While others memorized law and magic theory, Sana climbed the ridge lines around Jurim, mapping hidden paths and learning which cliffs would fracture cleanly under pressure. But she had something no general had bothered to calculate: knowledge of her city's terrain. 7 narrow passes fed into Jurim. 3 bridges carried heavy supply routes. There were 2 unstable ridgelines that, if collapsed in the correct sequence, would seal the remaining gaps around the city as well. And so one day she brought the results of all her research to her local armory, with the goal of convincing the Rin army to implement her strategy to deal with invaders. But they dismissed her instead. So Sana climbed the outer tower of the armory at dusk, which was easy for her, given her mountaineering skills, and slipped through a maintenance window. She placed an extensive scroll with terrain studies and models directly on the commanding officer's desk. The commanding officer was surprised, but before he could call guards, Sana started speaking. She named every structural weakness around the city without looking down. Then she predicted exactly where the enemy kingdom's cavalry would advance if an invasion came within the year. The officer stopped and checked her projections. He couldn't believe his eyes. They actually were precise, her calculations. Her strategy to save Jurim was the best proposal he had ever seen. And so, over the next 6 months, under strict secrecy, magic-enhanced charges were embedded at only 7 geological weak points, but not across the entire mountain range. If detonated in sequence, the city of Jurim could seal itself off from the rest of the world in under 12 minutes and become an impenetrable fortress surrounded by mountains. The city would be able to hold on until reinforcements came or until the enemy was dead. Sana called it the Mountain Lock Protocol, and it was classified at the highest level. And so she accepted a position in the Rin army as an officer, and prayed that the mountains would never have to fall. If the charges ever fired, Jurim would survive, but it would never be the same.